Hi everyone, like promised, I'm here today with my doctor, my psychologist, Dr. Antonio Graneri. I've known Tony for about 15 years now, and he's still alive, so that's a good sign. The reason I'm doing this recording today is because a lot of you have asked me or have told me that their psychologist or mental health practitioner does not have very good views on our therapy with the reborn babies. So I just wanted to open up a little bit wider the knowledge of these reborn babies by actually making my psychologist explain what he saw and what his reactions were. So I have got a few questions here to ask him. Welcome, first of all, Tony, and
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's nice to be here. It's actually Mr. Graneri. I'm not a doctor, so but that's okay.
Well, you're still
Psychologist.
You're still my doctor, but it's
Yeah.
okay. When I first came to see you with the baby, what was your first impression?
It's kind of interesting. I was a little bit kind of shocked to see a doll that looked so close to being a human baby that it was kind of a weird feeling. And it was only once you explained why you had that baby, that doll, that it dawned on me that there was a very good, valid reason for it. And it was kind of interesting because it was more about you and your relationship than it was about that initial reaction of this seems a bit strange.
Mm. Yes, because we do have people that think, oh yes, you know, the grown woman walking around with a baby
Absolutely.
is a bit crazy,
Mm.
but they don't really know what the whole story behind it is. I remember that day you took photos.
I did indeed, yeah. I was really surprised at how incredibly close it was to a human baby.
Yes, and just the feeling of it. He actually held her and wanted to play a little few tricks, but I wouldn't let him. But that's typical. Have you found, because now it's been like over 2 years that I've been doing this therapy, have you found any change in me?
Oh, definitely a lot calmer, more like you're in control of your life, and especially given part of the background as to why you were coming to see me, it allowed you to come to terms with a lot of that. So yeah, definitely a lot calmer, definitely more in control, and I suppose more meaning and purpose in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important.
It is, yes, it is very important, especially now that I've actually started making them. It has really opened up a new phase in my life. I would never consider myself an artist because I never thought, I mean, I could put down beautiful words, I've got the gift of the gab, but with regards to painting, I never thought, but this is my beautiful hope, and I'm really proud of her.
Yeah.
One of the other questions is, as a therapy, would you recommend it if the right patient came along, or if you found any similarities to my situation?
Absolutely. Look, one of the things about grief and loss is that there has to be a way to allow that grief and loss to be expressed. And the loss can become quite profound to the point where you are not able to cope on a day-to-day basis. So by replacing, to some degree, replacing the child or allowing the person to express their emotions to another child, or in this case a doll which represents the child. It's really, really a clever way of doing it so that they can then move forward with their lives. And it's very much like the therapy of asking someone to kind of determine what would they say to someone else if they were in that same situation. What this allows you to do is to be your own therapist in a way and allow yourself to do that. So I see no danger in it. I see no downside to it. As long as it isn't a replacement, then you're kind of doing a really good job. It's great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, there will never be a replacement for my own children, obviously.
That's right.
But as a mother, the nurturing that is in me needs to come out.
Yeah.
And because I can't do that, I find so much relief just, holding them and just, doing this rocking.
Yeah, the rocking.
It really calms me down. We will be going, my sister and some of the other mums will be going to Ipswich again in April,
Yeah.
The doll fair.
That's right.
And I still have the letter you gave me last year for the plane. I realised that the whole trip I was really calm.
Yeah.
Whereas my sister just about ripped my arm off, but now she's bringing one too. And I think it's just an anxiety attack, I suppose. Everyone's different, but even the people at the airport were really understanding. They actually thought she was real, so
Yeah.
they didn't want me to put her through the X-ray machine. But when they realised it, that was really great. Have you ever thought of, or have you researched it since I have introduced this to you? Have you done any sort of like looking into it or curiosity with it?
Yeah, look, I looked at various articles on things like allowing people to have either items or objects to express their emotions or to give them calmness. So now you realise that there are therapy dogs, and if you had talked about therapy dogs 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, people would have looked at you quite strangely. I believe that this falls into the same category as a therapy dog or a therapy animal of any kind, where it allows you to feel calmness and express emotion that really can't be expressed or even described. I mean, you've got to look at that. Some of the people that are on your Facebook page really can't describe their emotion. They go to a therapist or they go to a doctor. They can't really describe what they're experiencing or why they're experiencing that. So what the dolls allow you to do is to give you a sense of calmness and perhaps a sense of peace, a sense of being able to describe your feelings without actually having to verbalise them. So I think that's what it does. But the reading that I've done, I would certainly categorise them in that way, and I think that they're a good thing that in that situation. We allow children to hold teddy bears. Why? Because it comforts them, and I think it's exactly the same thing with these dolls. Not only is it a comfort, but it's allowing you to draw out emotion that you may have kept hidden, which can lead to anxiety and trauma and stuff. So it's a good thing.
Tony is a member of our therapy group Facebook page. He is the only man on there, but
always good.
I wanted him to to really see exactly how I interact with my dolls and with the group that I have met here. We're getting quite a large group, and all the mums there with different types of, some have mental health issues, some have other things. Whatever the reason is, some of them just like to have and role play with dolls, and they found the right group to do it because as you've seen even from the YouTube videos, I do every 3 weeks now. It used to be once every 6 months, now it's gone down to every 3 weeks. But we have fun, and it's fun that does not hurt anyone, but it makes us feel good. And I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
Look, what you've got to look at is that society will go along and tell you that as a grown woman you shouldn't be playing with dolls, and society will tell you a lot of things that you should and shouldn't be doing. But society also said that we shouldn't have same-sex marriages. Society also said that we shouldn't have a lot of things, but we're getting more aware of people's own individual differences and needs and so on. So while you might get a little bit of negative feedback from some people, I think that you probably get a lot more positive feedback because it's much more about your ability to, I suppose, change the perceptions that people have about why you do what you do. So by going out on those outings, I think you're changing the view of the public about what might be like that. Because people do have negative viewpoints. Not that they should be allowed to have any real viewpoint. You should be able to do what you want.
Oh, amen to that.
But they will have those negative viewpoints. But what's much, much more important is that you're able to interact with your baby, with your doll, in a way that allows you to express yourself positively. So I can't see any downside to that. I can't see any negative to that.
And feel part of society, without being alienated.
Yeah.
Now, one of the mums in my group, because we have a private chat group with the mums that normally, that's just our private, and we just and I told them, tomorrow I'm going to be talking to Tony, my psychologist. Is there any particular question maybe you would like me to ask? And one mum said to me, would you ask him, what does it say here? What is your opinion on people taking their babies out in public and on public transport? Now, there's a few mums that don't drive. So and it's amazing how they get everywhere, and I mean everywhere, on public transport. I would be terrified. I can't do anything without my car.
Yeah.
You know my saying, I can live without a man, but I can't live without my car. This particular mum doesn't drive, and she wants to know what your opinion is about, taking the babies out in public. You did explain a bit of it already.
Yeah.
And on public transport. Should there be any...
Look, I think that it's up to the individual to work out how they feel about that. Is there an anxiety about it, and why is that anxiety there? Or is there a fear of how people will react? And that says a lot about them and their self-esteem and their own self-assurance. Now, there's a difference between self-esteem and self-assurance. Self-assurance is your ability to know how you are quietly within yourself. Whereas self-esteem is certainly about the things that you get from other people. Things like I suppose the support, the acknowledgement, the feeling of being okay. So when it comes to public transport, one of the things you've got to look at is, well, am I going to be negatively affected by this? If you don't think that you are, or if you're not too worried about it, definitely do that, because if it provides you with the feeling of being connected, then that's very much more important. You get to a point in psychology that you realise that your aim is to be contented. Now, you're not always going to be happy, but if you're generally contented, then that's a good thing. And I kind of follow the idea of Russ Harris, who was the originator of acceptance and commitment therapy, where we look at things that say, well, yes, you're going to have bad days. That's okay, but they pass. You're going to have, happy days, but unfortunately they will pass too. You can't be happy all the time, and you certainly can't be okay all the time. And it is okay to be anxious, and it is okay to be sad, but you need to know that that will pass. And what are you going to do after that? How are you going to make that situation better? And what lessons do you learn from that? So I think by taking the babies out on public transport, it can teach you something about yourself as much as it teaches other people that that's okay too. Mm-hmm. The public can be very judgmental, there's no doubt about that, but I would hope that this is much more about you and your relationship with your doll than it is about you and an individual that you have no idea about and probably shouldn't even care about, that you don't know and will never see again.
Yeah. Well, that's what I keep telling them. When someone comes up to you and says something negative, it's not your problem, it's their problem.
Absolutely.
So I just say, just smile and walk away. Obviously, for me now, it's a lot easier because I'm at a certain age where I've given up trying to fight, given up trying to I've always been one to fight for what is right. Always, my whole life. I will protect anyone and, really go on to it. But now I just can't be bothered anymore. But I think of myself because I think that number one person is yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to find a certain amount of balance in what you do. I have bad days too. I can sleep for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
That's what really saves me, but because in those 3 or 4 days that I sleep, I don't think. Then I wake up and I seem to be more relaxed, and then I just start again.
So can I say a couple of things about that? The first is that if someone does come up to you and say something negative, the way to help them understand and probably maybe to make yourself feel better as well, is to explain that this is important to you. So I would say something like, look, this doll may make you feel uncomfortable, but it's very important to me and I need it as part of my therapy and my ability to cope in life.
Yeah.
And just say something like that makes them aware that this isn't just a toy to you. That's not what this is about.
That's right.
So allow them to understand that. If they still continue with it and say, well, that may be your opinion, I'm just going to move away, sit somewhere else or whatever. The second thing is that if you do have bad days where you do sleep for 2 or 3 days, the good thing about having one of these dolls is you don't have to feed it.
Exactly.
So it really doesn't matter. In fact, even cats need to be fed.
Exactly. So
you're better off with one of these dolls.
Yes. I usually present when somebody comes to me and says to me, oh my goodness, she's so beautiful. She looks like a doll. They do say that about. And I just respond, yes, it's my therapy doll. And they kind of like...
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do the double take, like, sorry?
Yes, they do. And then I explain it. But, and actually, many times when we've been out in the group, I notice now, with the time that's gone past, they are actually learning and they are actually saying what I have said, which makes me happy, because I think now they have a way of expressing. Because I know, especially for the young ones, if somebody comes up and says to one of them, oh, you know, you're having a doll in a pram, you know, and they would straight away, they would close in.
Yeah.
But now I've noticed that they've quite a few have opened up, and it's. I think. What do you think of my group? What do you think is about how all this is evolving?
I think it's a good thing. I think providing support to other women who really need the environment of having a baby with them, or having a way to express themselves. So what do we say to women who wear 1950s dresses and dress in that? Do we say, oh look, it's 2019, what are you doing dressed like that?
I do that. That's what I wear.
Well, and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that obviously you belong to two culturally different groups. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I couldn't use another word. The point I'm making is that it's really not about what other people think. It's about what you feel. So what I would do if people do make negative comments is to say, well, this is what I do. You might go play football or race cars or go drink a lot or play Xbox, whatever it is that they do. But that appears to be more acceptable than spending a day with your baby, your doll, having fun with other women. It's not up to other people to criticise. It's really about what you want to do. And the more you do have those outings, the more you do explain why you're doing this, the more likely it is that it's going to be acceptable to other people. So my belief is that if it's making you feel comfortable and you can cope with life a bit better and you can do more things, then definitely do it. I would say that right now, with the understanding of how therapy animals work, which of whatever kind they are, and with the understanding of how we can make people's lives better, this is just another way to do that, and a very positive way, I might add, because we're not saying this is my child, this is my substitute.
Yeah.
This is a way of me expressing myself, and so I don't see it as negative, but rather very, very positive. So if you do get that negativity with people coming up to you, just sit back and say, this is for me, this is what I do, and this is why I do it. Would you like to have a look? And most people who see them would be quite surprised at how lifelike they are. So I think it'll be a good thing.
You're living proof of that, and you're a man, so that's...
You don't have any males that want to do this, which is kind of interesting.
No, but there is a group still in Australia, and this lady interviewed this father. He's a single father, and he actually became a reborn daddy.
Oh wow!
And yes, I think I did put the link up on our Facebook page. But he's an artist, like he does paintings and stuff like that. But he discovered these dolls by a friend of his, and he's got his own little boy as well as his real little boy, and he just thinks it's amazing. It's amazing. So I think that's great. What do you think, Hope? Shall we tell Tony it's enough for today?
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I hope this has helped you guys a lot. And yes, do speak to your psychiatrist, psychologist, mental health practitioner, and explain to them the reason why. Because there's a lot of people that are good like him. I mean, he's put up with me for 15 years, so he's almost got his halo. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.